The lace veil trembled between Isla's fingers, delicate as a spider's web caught in a storm. Morning light streamed through the bridal suite's tall windows, gilding the silk of her gown and scattering diamonds across the floor from the jeweled combs in her hair. To anyone looking in, she was the picture of perfection. Radiant, ethereal, a bride waiting for her happily ever after. But inside, her chest was heavy, her breath unsteady, and her heart. It whispered warnings she tried to silence. This is the day every girl dreams of, she reminded herself, clutching her bouquet as though the roses could anchor her. The day I step into forever. Forever. The word no longer felt like a promise. Felt like a chain. She had slipped away from the laughter of bridesmaids and the hovering hands of her mother, her heels clicking softly against the polished marble as she sought solitude. What she found instead shattered her world. The hushed murmur of voices drifted from behind the half-open door of the groom's quarters. At first, she smiled, expecting to hear her fiancé, Adrian, nervously rehearsing vows or whispering to a friend. But the voice that answered him, a woman's voice, husky and intimate, froze her where she stood. Adrian, the woman breathed, low and pleading. You don't have to go through with this. Not for her. Her heart lurched. Isla pressed a trembling hand to her lips, leaning closer, the bouquet wilting in her grasp. Don't start this again, Adrian's voice answered, sharp with frustration, yet laced with something deeper, something forbidden. You know what's at stake. Her family, her father's wealth. Once the vows are spoken, everything falls into place. The other woman let out a soft, bitter laugh. So I remain your secret, while she becomes your wife? Silence stretched, broken only when Isla heard the rustle of fabric, and the unmistakable sound of lips meeting lips. The bouquet slipped from her fingers, roses scattering across the corridor like droplets of blood. Her breath came ragged, shallow. She staggered back, skirts rustling like waves against stone, her mind unraveling with every step. Adrian, her Adrian, the man who had sworn devotion, who had kissed her hands under the moonlight, who had promised her love that would never falter. All lies. She fled before the door could open, before her sobs could betray her presence. Through the corridors, past startled servants, down staircases lined with velvet runners, she ran, clutching her skirts high enough to keep from falling. Her heart wasn't breaking. No, it was burning. The church bells tolled noon, their peals mocking her. Guests were already gathering in the cathedral below, their laughter floating on the air, oblivious to the bride who would never walk the aisle. She burst through the side door into the garden, where sunlight spilled golden over hedges and fountains. Her tears blurred it all. Isla, a bridesmaid spotted her, rushing forward. What are you? But Isla shook her head wildly, unable to speak, unable to breathe. She pulled free, stumbling through the garden gate, her satin slippers slick with dew. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Away from Adrian, away from betrayal, away from the cage her family had built for her. The mountains rose in the distance, dark and wild against the horizon. They seemed to call to her, fierce and untamed. Somewhere deep inside, something urged her toward them. She ran. Hours blurred into one another. The gown grew heavy, its beating snagging on branches as she scrambled through woods at the mountain's edge. The veil tore, her slippers shredded, but she pressed on, driven by heartbreak and instinct. Her mind screamed with memories, her father's stern face, reminding her this marriage would secure their family's fortune. Her mother's cool hand adjusting the veil, whispering that love came after duty. Adrian's eyes, smiling yet deceitful. Never again, Isla whispered into the wind, chest heaving. Never again will I belong to a man's lies. But the forest seemed to whisper back, shadows lengthening, the air growing colder. She didn't realize how far she'd gone until the trees thinned and moonlight revealed rocky paths winding upward. The mountains. She stumbled higher, into lands spoken of only in fearful whispers. Lands belonging not to men, but to beasts. A howl split the silence. It was deep, resonant, and so close it stopped her in her tracks. Isla's breath caught, her blood turning to ice. Wolves. Her heart hammered, panic urging her to flee, but her limbs refused to move. Another sound followed, the heavy tread of footsteps, too measured to be animal, too primal to be human. Then he emerged. A figure stepped from the shadows, tall and broad, power coiled in every movement. His eyes gleamed gold in the moonlight, catching hers with a pull that stole her breath. A man yet not. His presence radiated danger, authority, something ancient that thrummed in the air around him. Lost little bride? His voice was deep, edged with command, but beneath it lingered something else, something softer, as though even he didn't understand why her sight stirred him. Isla staggered back, clutching the torn lace of her gown. "Stay away," she choked, though her voice wavered. "Please, just stay away." But he stepped closer, and in the glow of the moon she saw it. Fur rippling briefly across his arms, the glint of fangs behind his lips, the wildness in his gaze. A werewolf. Her heart stuttered. Her mind screamed at her to run. But her body froze, because as his gaze locked with hers, something surged inside her, a pull fierce and inexplicable. And in his golden eyes, she saw recognition. Fate. The man's lips curved, as though he knew it too. "Mine." Isla's knees weakened. Her breath caught between terror and something she couldn't name. The night closed in around them, the forest hushed, the mountains watching. She didn't know who he was, or why the word he spoke sent a shiver down her spine. But she knew one thing: her escape had ended, and her story had just begun. Isla discovers the Alpha Ronan in the mountains. He recognizes her as his fated mate. She is torn between fear, disbelief, and an unwanted pull toward him. The forest was alive with silence. Not a bird stirred, not a branch swayed, as though the very mountain held its breath. Isla's pulse thundered in her ears, each beat screaming at her to run. But her body betrayed her, rooted to the ground beneath the weight of his golden gaze. The man, no, the beast, stood a few paces away, moonlight carving shadows over his sharp jaw, his broad shoulders. His presence was unlike anything she had ever known. Dangerous, magnetic, impossible to ignore. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice raw. His lips curved in a slow, almost predatory smile. "Ronan," he said, the name carrying authority, like a command carved from stone. "Alpha of this land. And you?" His gaze raked over her torn gown, her trembling form. "You've wandered where no human should dare." Alpha. The word rang in her mind, chilling and strange, recalling every whispered tale from childhood. Of wolves who walked as men, of ruthless packs who ruled the mountains, of maidens who strayed too far and were never seen again. Isla swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to trespass. I was running." A flicker crossed his eyes, as though he already knew. His nostrils flared, his jaw tightening. "You reek of salt and roses," he murmured, stepping closer, the forest floor crunching under his boots. Tears and betrayal. A bride who flees her groom. Her breath caught. "How do you?" "I can smell it," he said simply, his voice dark velvet. "Your fear. Your heartbreak." His golden eyes locked with hers again, burning with something fierce, something possessive, and something else, something I cannot ignore. Isla shook her head violently, backing away. "Stay back. I don't want anything from you. I don't want any man ever again." Her words cracked like glass shattering under strain. Ronan froze at that, as if her pain struck deeper than he expected. His hands curled into fists at his sides, claws threatening to break the surface of his skin. The instinct, the primal urge, to claim her as his surged within him, wild and relentless. But she recoiled from him as though he were the very betrayal she fled. "Go back to your groom, then," he growled, though his voice betrayed a war within. "See if he protects you as I would." The memory of Adrian's lips on another woman seared Isla's mind. Her stomach twisted, bile rising. She hugged herself, as if holding her own shattered pieces together. "No." Never again. Ronan's jaw tightened. The wolf inside him roared against her words, demanding he prove himself, demanding he show her she was wrong. But he forced himself still, only his golden eyes betraying the storm within. "You don't belong to him," he said finally, voice low and certain. "You belong to me." Her breath hitched. "No," she whispered, shaking her head, backing farther into the trees. "I don't belong to anyone." But the pull between them, gods, it was undeniable. Isla felt it, though she tried to smother it with every ounce of defiance. Her skin prickled where his gaze touched her, her heartbeat quickening not only in fear, but in something far more dangerous. She turned suddenly, gathering her skirts and bolting deeper into the forest. Branches clawed at her gown, roots caught at her feet, but she ran, desperate to outrun him, to outrun fate itself. Behind her, a growl tore through the air. Ronan moved, not with the stride of a man, but with the swift, primal grace of a predator unleashed. In seconds, he was upon her, his hand closing around her wrist, halting her flight. She gasped, spinning, her back colliding with the solid wall of his chest. "Let me go!" she cried, thrashing against him. But his grip, though firm, was not cruel. His voice was rough, threaded with restraint. "If I let you go, you'll break yourself on these mountains. They will eat you alive. My wolves will scent you, and I—" His words cut short, his jaw tightening as though holding back something raw. "I cannot let that happen." Isla stared up at him, her chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. His nearness was suffocating. Heat, strength, and something primal radiated from him, making her heart tremble in ways it shouldn't. Her tears welled again, but this time from fury. "You think you're different?" she spat, her voice shaking. "You're not. All men take. All men betray. My groom, my family, they wanted me for what I could give them. And you?" She shoved weakly at his chest. "You want me because of whatever curse ties your kind to mates." Ronan flinched as though she had struck deeper than claws could. For the first time, the alpha looked uncertain, vulnerable. Still, his voice emerged like thunder, unyielding. "I don't betray, and if fate names you mine, then not even the moon itself will take you from me." The words hung between them, heavy, electric. Isla's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to curse him, to demand he release her. But the way he spoke, fierce, certain, stirred something dangerous in her chest, something she had buried the moment she fled the cathedral. Hope. She yanked her wrist free at last, stepping back, though her body ached with the loss of his touch. "Stay away from me," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'd rather face the mountains alone than be caged by another man's claim." Her words were a dagger, and she saw them cut him. But Ronan didn't move, didn't follow as she turned and vanished deeper into the trees. He stood in the moonlight, chest heaving, his wolf clawing at the edges of his control. Every instinct screamed to chase her, to seize her, to never let her go. But he remained still, fists clenched, golden eyes burning with a vow only the night could hear. "She is mine," he growled to the shadows, "and I will prove it, even if it breaks me." Far above, another howl echoed through the peaks, closer this time. Another wolf had scented her. Ronan's head snapped up, his jaw hardening. If she thought she could escape him, she was wrong. Because though he fought to respect her defiance, the mountains held dangers far crueler than him. And no wolf, not even fate itself, would touch her but him. Isla escapes Ronan's grasp, but other wolves are closing in. Ronan must decide whether to honor her wish for freedom, or protect her, even if she hates him for it. The forest deepened, darker now beneath the silver wash of the moon. Isla's skirts were tattered, her veil long torn away, her satin shoes ruined beyond recognition. Each step was agony, her feet raw against rock and root, but she refused to stop. Every breath reminded her of Ronan, the warmth of his chest, the command in his voice, the way his eyes burned into hers with that unbearable word, mine. No, she wouldn't let herself feel it. Not again. But as she stumbled through the undergrowth, her resolve collided with a new terror. The howl came first, long and sharp, splitting the night air. Then another, closer, layered with menace. Her heart lurched. She froze, clutching her gown to her chest as the forest seemed to close around her. Branches cracked to her left. A shadow moved to her right. And then, they appeared. 3 wolves padded into the clearing, larger than any natural beast should be. Their fur shimmered in the moonlight, one silver, one black as midnight, and one mottled gray. Their eyes gleamed with intelligence far too sharp for mere animals. Isla's breath caught. She stumbled back, but they circled her with predatory grace. Low growls vibrating through the air. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't want to hurt anyone. I just need to go." The silver wolf bared its teeth, lips curling back in a snarl. The black one stalked closer, muscles rippling, eyes narrowing on the bride who had wandered where no mortal should tread. Isla's pulse hammered. She tried to run, but her legs barely moved before a blur of motion cut through the clearing. Ronan. He was no longer just a man. Half-shifted, his form towered, muscles rippling, claws glinting under the moon. His golden eyes blazed as he stepped between Isla and the wolves, his growl thunderous enough to shake the trees. "She is under my protection," he roared. The pack froze, their growls subsiding into uneasy whines. But they didn't retreat. The silver one shifted, bones cracking, fur dissolving into skin. A man stood where the wolf had been, tall and lean, his expression hard with suspicion. "Alpha," the silver-haired man said, voice edged with challenge. "Why do you guard her? She is human, a trespasser." Isla gasped, stumbling backward. The man's eyes flicked to her gown, to her bare feet cut by stone. Contempt twisted his features. "She doesn't belong here," he spat. "Humans bring nothing but ruin. We all know the law." The black wolf shifted next, revealing a woman with wild, dark hair and eyes sharp as daggers. She sneered, circling. "Perhaps she wandered here for a reason. Perhaps she spies for the hunters." "I'm not," Isla began, but her voice cracked, weak under their scrutiny. Ronan cut her off, his voice rumbling like thunder. "Enough!" His command silenced the clearing. The other wolves stiffened, their eyes flicking downward in reluctant submission. Still, Isla saw the tension, saw the resentment simmering like a storm waiting to break. "She stays," Ronan declared, each word sharp as steel. "By my decree, she is untouchable." Murmurs rippled through the wolves, disbelief and unease. The gray wolf shifted last, an older man with grizzled hair and wary eyes. He stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Alpha, think carefully. Bringing her into our lands, protecting her, it will not be accepted by the others. You risk more than defiance. You risk exile." The word sliced through the night. Isla's stomach twisted. "Exile? Because of her?" She turned on Ronan, her voice trembling with desperation. "Stop this. I never asked for your protection. I don't need you to risk anything for me. Just let me go. I'll leave your mountains and never return." Ronan turned, his gaze locking with hers. For a moment, his eyes softened, golden fire dimming into something she couldn't name. "You wouldn't survive a night," he said quietly. "I'd rather die free." Isla shot back, though her voice faltered, betraying the fear in her chest. The wolves snarled at her defiance, some laughing under their breath. But Ronan's face hardened again, alpha authority radiating from every line of his body. "She is not to be harmed," he said, his tone final. "I will answer to the council myself if I must, but she is mine to guard." The silver-haired wolf growled low in his throat, bowing only slightly before turning back into the trees. The others followed, vanishing into the shadows, leaving only their whispers lingering in the night. Isla trembled, hugging herself as the weight of what just happened pressed down on her. Ronan had stood against his own kind for her. Why? She wanted to hate him for it, to resent him for claiming her fate. But part of her heart, damaged, aching, traitorous, whispered a question she couldn't silence. What kind of man, what kind of beast would risk everything for someone who begged him not to? The silence stretched between them. The night was heavy with things unsaid. Finally, Isla lifted her chin, her voice soft but edged. You'll lose everything because of me. Why? Why do this? Ronan stepped closer, the moon lighting his face, his jaw tense, his eyes fierce with conviction. Because, he said, his voice deep and certain, the moon has spoken. You are my mate. Isla's heart lurched. Her breath caught, words deserting her. She stumbled back, shaking her head. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. No, I won't believe it. But deep inside, her soul trembled, because some part of her already knew. The pack begins to turn against Ronan for protecting Isla, warning him of exile. He defies them, claiming her as his fated mate. Isla refuses to accept it, but the truth pulls at her. The night stretched long and restless. Isla sat near a fire Ronan had built in a hollow of the forest, the warmth licking at her torn gown. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to find comfort in the flames, but her thoughts spiraled. Every snap of wood, every distant howl pulled her deeper into unease. The Alpha had vanished into the shadows some time ago, to speak with his scouts, leaving her alone in the circle of firelight. Her body ached, but her heart ached more. Adrian. His name felt poisonous on her tongue now, bitter as ash. The memory of his lips on another woman returned again and again, crushing her chest each time. She wanted to believe she was free of him, that fleeing had ended his hold on her. But some wounds didn't vanish with distance. And now, because of her foolish escape, she had landed in the claws of a wolf who claimed her as his fated mate. The fire crackled, mocking her. I won't be chained again, she whispered to the night. But the words trembled, thin against the mountain silence. Ronan returned just before dawn, his broad frame stepping into the light. His golden eyes found hers instantly, and the wolf inside him purred with relief at the sight of her. Still there, still his. She stiffened, refusing to let his presence comfort her. What do you want from me? She asked suddenly, her voice sharp. Why not let me go? Surely your pack would prefer it. Ronan crouched by the fire, his expression unreadable. They would, he admitted. They see you as a threat, an outsider, a weakness. His gaze sharpened. But I don't. Her heart stuttered. She hated the way his words wrapped around her, warm and certain, like promises whispered in the dark. You don't even know me, she snapped. He leaned closer, voice low, dangerous. I don't need to. The bond is older than choice, older than doubt. The moon doesn't make mistakes. Isla swallowed hard, the firelight dancing over his features, making him look both terrifying and breathtaking. She wanted to argue, to deny him, but her lips refused to form the words. The crack of a horn shattered the fragile stillness. Both Isla and Ronan turned sharply toward the sound echoing through the mountains. It wasn't a wolf's call. It was human. Ronan's jaw clenched. Hunters, he growled. Isla's blood turned to ice. Her family, Adrian, they had come after her. Ronan rose to his full height, a storm brewing in his eyes. Stay here. No. Isla surged to her feet, panic surging. You don't understand. If it's them, they'll kill you. They'll kill all of you. My father, he despises your kind. He'd rather see me dead than in a wolf's hands. Ronan stepped closer, towering over her, his presence suffocating yet strangely protective. They will not touch you. Not while I breathe. Her lips parted, fear and disbelief tangling inside her. She wanted to scream at him, to run, to hide. But deep inside, a treacherous warmth flickered at his words. The forest came alive with movement. Wolves emerged from the shadows, half-shifted, their eyes glinting as they converged on Ronan. The silver-haired beta sneered. They've entered the foothills, he reported. Armed, brazen, humans with fire and steel. They demand the girl. His gaze flicked to Isla, dripping with disdain. They claim she belongs to them. Isla's knees weakened. Belongs. The word was a noose around her throat. Ronan's growl rumbled through the clearing, silencing the pack. She belongs to no man, he thundered. And no family that would betray her. The beta bared his teeth. Then what of us? Will you risk the wrath of men for her? Risk exile from your own council? Ronan's answer came sharp as steel. I will risk everything. Gasps rippled through the pack. Some growled in approval, others in warning. Isla stood frozen, torn between fury and awe. Stop this, she cried, her voice breaking. I never asked for your protection. Don't throw your life away for me. Please, Ronan. But the Alpha's eyes never wavered. He reached for her, his hand hovering near her cheek, not quite touching. His voice softened, just for her. Let them come. Tonight, they will learn what it means to challenge an Alpha's vow. As dawn crested the mountains, the horns sounded again. Closer now, the voices of men cutting through the mist. Isla's heart pounded. She saw them in her mind, Adrian's smug face, her father's cold eyes, the soldiers marching with steel blades and torches. They were coming. And Ronan. Ronan was ready to meet them. The storm was no longer distant. It had arrived. Isla's family and Adrian have entered the mountains, demanding her return. Ronan vows to protect her against them, defying both humans and his own pack. A clash is inevitable. The mist hung thick over the mountains that morning, coiling like breath from some ancient beast. Isla stood behind Ronan, her fists knotted in her torn gown, her heart slamming against her ribs. She could hear them, shouting voices, the crunch of boots against stone, the metallic ring of steel drawn too eagerly. Her family, her groom. She had fled them like a hunted bird, and yet here they were, storming into wolf lands, demanding her return as though she were a possession misplaced. Ronan stood tall at the forest's edge, his golden eyes fixed on the approaching figures. His wolves fanned out behind him, a wall of silent power, fur bristling, claws flexing in anticipation. And then, through the fog, they appeared. Adrian led the charge, dressed still in the groom's finery, though it now hung rumpled and travel-stained. His handsome face twisted with frustration, his pale hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. Behind him strode Isla's father, rigid and proud, flanked by soldiers carrying torches and blades that glinted in the half-light. There she is. Adrian's voice rang out the moment his gaze found Isla. His eyes flared with triumph, as if she were prey caught in a snare. My bride. Isla flinched, bile rising in her throat. Her bride. Even after all she had seen, all she had heard, he dared to claim her. Silence. Ronan's voice thundered across the clearing, halting even the birds in the trees. The Alpha stepped forward, his presence a force of its own. She is not yours. Adrian's lips curled into a sneer. And what are you, beast? Her jailer? Do you think you can keep what belongs to me? I belong to no one, Isla said suddenly, her voice trembling but clear. Her father's sharp eyes whipped toward her, cold with disapproval. Daughter, he barked, his tone like iron. Enough of this childish rebellion. You've shamed us long enough. Come with us now, and all will be forgiven. Forgiven, as though she were the sinner, as though Adrian's betrayal meant nothing. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. No, I will never return to you. Not to him. Gasps rippled through the soldiers. Adrian's face darkened with fury. You dare defy me? After everything I've done for you? A laugh tore from her throat, sharp and bitter. Everything you've done to me, you mean? I know about her, Adrian. About your secret lover, about your lies. I heard it with my own ears. Adrian stiffened, his composure faltering. A murmur spread through the soldiers, some exchanging glances, doubt flickering. Ronan's wolves growled, sensing the weakness in the human groom. Her father's face flushed crimson. You ungrateful girl, he hissed. We made this match to secure your future, to secure our fortune. And you throw it away for what? To cower in the arms of a monster. The insult hung heavy in the air. The wolves snarled, their hackles rising, but none louder than Ronan. His voice split the mountain like a storm. Enough! He stepped forward, his half-shift shimmering across his form. Claws glinting, fangs flashing, eyes ablaze with golden fire. His power rolled out in waves, pressing against every man, every wolf in the clearing. She is not your pawn. She is not your bargaining chip. And she will never again be bound by your greed or your lies. He pointed a clawed hand at Adrian, whose face had gone pale. Touch her. Speak her name as though she is yours, and I will tear the deceit from your throat. The soldiers wavered, fear flickering in their eyes. But Isla's father, stubborn and proud, took a bold step forward. And who are you to make such claims, beast? Ronan's chest heaved, his voice dropping into a growl that shook the earth. I am her mate, chosen by the moon, bound by fate. She is under my protection, and any who challenge that, challenge me. A stunned silence followed. The words rang with finality, with a vow that could not be broken. Isla's knees weakened. She should have recoiled, should have shouted her denial. And yet, hearing those words, seeing him stand against them all for her heart trembled with something dangerously close to hope. Adrian broke the silence with a sharp laugh, though it cracked at the edges. Mate, you claim her with fairy tales and superstition? She is mine by law, by vow, by her family's word. But the soldiers shifted uneasily, as if Ronan's presence had unraveled something in them. Even Isla's father's eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. Go, Ronan commanded, his voice like thunder rolling through stone. Leave these mountains, and never return. Adrian's fury twisted into desperation. No, she is mine. He lunged forward, hand outstretched toward Isla. In an instant, Ronan was there. Faster than sight, his claws wrapped around Adrian's wrist, stopping him cold. The Alpha's eyes blazed with fury, his voice a low snarl. Touch her again, he whispered, deadly calm, and you die. The world seemed to hold its breath. Adrian trembled, fear finally breaking through his arrogance. Isla's father stepped back, uncertainty shadowing his stern face. And Isla, her heart raced, not with fear, but with something she couldn't deny any longer. Ronan had claimed her, not as property, not as pawn, but as something sacred, something cherished. And in that moment, she knew. Her escape from betrayal had led her to this, to him. But fate was not done testing them. From the shadows, another howl rose, low, mournful, and filled with warning. The council wolves had arrived, and they had come to judge. Ronan publicly claims Isla as his mate, defending her against Adrian and her family. But the wolf council arrives, ready to challenge Ronan's authority and his right to keep her. The howl faded into the mountains, echoing through the pines like a summons from the old gods themselves. Isla felt the sound vibrate in her bones, ancient and commanding. The wolves behind Ronan stiffened, their golden eyes dropping to the forest floor in uneasy respect. Even Ronan's body tensed, though his hand remained locked around Adrian's wrist like iron. From the mist, figures emerged. Wolves first, massive and spectral, their coats silvered by age and moonlight. Then came their human forms, cloaked in deep robes, faces lined with centuries of law and tradition. The Council of Elders. Isla's throat tightened. She had never seen beings like these before. Wolves whose presence weighed heavier than mountains, whose eyes seemed to look straight through her soul. The eldest stepped forward, his hair white as snow, his gaze sharp as cut glass. His voice was gravel and thunder combined. Alpha Ronan, he said, each syllable heavy with judgment. You dare raise your claws against humans in neutral lands? You dare claim a mate beyond the laws of our kind? Ronan's growl was low, but it thrummed with restrained defiance. I dare protect what is mine. The elder's gaze shifted to Isla. She flinched under the weight of it, clutching at her tattered gown. And this human, she carries no mark of the bond, no proof of the fated link you claim. Do you risk exile, Alpha? For her? Gasps rippled among the gathered wolves. Isla's chest constricted. Exile. The word tasted like ashes. Would Ronan truly give up everything? His pack, his power, his birthright. For her? Adrian seized the moment, his voice sharp with triumph. You see? He lies. She is mine by human law. A runaway bride, nothing more. You cannot allow this beast to deceive you. Ronan's claws dug deeper into Adrian's wrist, drawing a bead of blood. Enough, he growled, before casting the man aside like a rag doll. Adrian stumbled to the dirt, scrambling backward. The elder lifted a hand, silencing the chaos. His eyes returned to Ronan. The council will hear your defense. Speak. Ronan stepped forward, his golden gaze burning brighter than fire. His voice was steady, but each word carried the weight of conviction. She is not human only. She is chosen. The bond is unsealed because she fears it, because betrayal has carved scars too deep. But I feel it. I know it. My wolf knows it. She is mine. Deny it if you will, but the moon does not err. The council murmured among themselves, doubt and curiosity flickering like shadows. And then, like a knife, one of the younger elders turned to Isla. Is this true, girl? Do you feel the bond he claims? Or are you merely a frightened runaway, clinging to wolves for shelter? Her breath caught. All eyes were on her, the wolves, her father, Adrian, Ronan. The silence pressed like a noose around her throat. She opened her mouth, but the words tangled in her chest. Did she feel it? She remembered his touch, how his voice had steadied her when she wanted to break, how his vow had thundered against her betrayers, not to possess her, but to protect. Her heart leapt in answer to his every breath. And yet, how could she admit it aloud? To say so meant surrender, meant trust, and trust had betrayed her once before. Her father's eyes bored into her, full of scorn. Say it is not so, Isla. Say you do not bind yourself to this beast. Adrian's hiss followed, desperate. You are mine. Remember the vows, the dresses, the promises. Think of the life we could still have. Ronan's gaze caught hers. Golden, fierce, patient. He said nothing, yet everything echoed in his silence. Choose me, his eyes whispered, or let me fall for you. Her lips parted. Her heart pounded. Enough. The eldest elder raised his hand again. The decision will not rest on words alone. We will test the bond under the moon. Ronan stiffened. Isla's pulse raced. The trial of the heart, another elder intoned. If she is truly your mate, the moon will answer. If not. His eyes narrowed, dark as a blade's edge. You will be stripped of your alpha's title, exiled beyond these lands. Forever. Gasps erupted. Wolves shifted uneasily. Adrian smirked through his bruises, hope lighting his face again. Isla's father exhaled in relief, convinced the test would prove Ronan's folly. But Isla's knees weakened beneath her. This was not a game. This was not some fairy tale. If she faltered, if her fear won, Ronan would lose everything. And it would be her fault. The council began to gather in a circle, their chants low, their presence suffocating. The mist thickened, curling into silver tendrils as if the moon itself bent toward the mountain. Ronan reached for her hand. His palm was warm, rough, trembling faintly beneath his strength. You don't have to fear this, he murmured, voice low enough for only her. If you trust me, even a little, the moon will see it. Her heart twisted. Did she dare? Her lips trembled. And if I can't? He leaned closer, his breath brushing her ear. Then I lose everything. But I will not lose you. Even in exile, Isla, I will find you. Her eyes burned with tears. The elder's chants grew louder, the circle glowing with silver light. The test was about to begin, and Isla stood at the center of it all, her hand clasped in Ronan's, the weight of two worlds pressing against her shoulders. Would she let her past betrayals steal her future, or surrender to the bond that called her heart home? The council demands a trial of the heart. If Isla and Ronan are truly mates, the moon will bless them. If not, Ronan faces exile. Isla must decide whether to trust her heart or let fear destroy them both. The circle of elders burned silver beneath the mountain sky. The mist swirled tighter, luminous with otherworldly light, as though the very stars bent their gaze upon the trial. Wolves gathered in silence, their breath steaming, their eyes glowing with primal anticipation. At the center stood Isla and Ronan, hands clasped, hearts thunderous. The eldest elder raised his staff high, its crystal tip catching the light of the rising moon. His voice rolled across the clearing, ancient and commanding. By the law of our kind, we call upon the moon, mother of wolves, to reveal what truth lies hidden. If the bond between Alpha Ronan and this human is real, let it be sealed in silver flame. If false, let exile claim him. The circle pulsed with light. The chant of the council rose like a storm. The air thickened, heavy, almost too thick to breathe. Isla's chest heaved. Every heartbeat felt like a hammer striking bone. The bond, was it real? Did she truly feel it? Or was she only grasping for something to hold against the wreckage of betrayal? What if I fail him? She looked at Ronan. His golden eyes burned with devotion, unwavering. Not possession, not demand, devotion. The kind of fire that could warm a frozen soul. Trust me, he whispered, voice low, steady. Trust us. Her father's voice cut through the haze, sharp and scornful. Don't be a fool, Isla. You belong to your blood, your vows. Not to this beast. Adrian stumbled forward, desperation twisting his face. Isla, you're mine. You love me. You always have. Say it. His words were knives, each one dragging the ghost of betrayal deeper into her ribs. She had loved him. She had dreamed of forever with him. And he had shattered it hours before their vows. Her knees weakened. Doubt gnawed her resolve. But then Ronan squeezed her hand. His warmth steadied her, grounding her. His voice was fierce, tender, unyielding. Look at me. Only me. She did. And in his gaze, she saw no deceit, no hunger for power, no selfishness. Only the truth of a bond that defied every law, every doubt. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, I choose you. The words left her like a vow, breaking chains she hadn't known she still carried. The circle erupted. Silver fire leapt from the ground, coiling around their joined hands, racing up their arms. The light was searing, beautiful, alive. Isla gasped as warmth flooded her chest, seeping into every fracture of her soul. She felt it. His heartbeat inside hers, his spirit twined with hers, the bond sealed in moonlight. The elders staggered back, awe etched into their ancient faces. The wolves howled, voices rising in exultation. The bond was real. The moon had spoken. Ronan pulled her into his arms, his lips brushing her temple as he whispered, Mine. Her tears fell freely, but they were not of sorrow. She clung to him, whispering back, Always. But not all rejoiced. Adrian's scream tore through the air. No, this isn't possible. His face twisted with rage, spittle flying as he lunged, dagger flashing in his hand. Gasps erupted. Wolves surged forward, but Ronan was faster. His body moved with primal grace, intercepting the blade with his clawed hand. The steel snapped like brittle bone under his strength. Ronan's growl rolled like thunder. You dare threaten her in the moon's light? Adrian froze, trembling as the Alpha's golden eyes bore into his soul. Leave, Ronan spat. Take your lies, your greed, and crawl back to the hollow life you built. But know this, if you ever set foot in these mountains again, it will be your last. Adrian's knees buckled. He dropped the broken dagger, retreating into the shadows with a face twisted by rage and fear. Her father's expression darkened, but he said nothing. Perhaps even his pride could not argue with the fire that now burned between his daughter and the Alpha. He turned on his heel, vanishing into the mist with his men. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of fading silver fire. The eldest elder stepped forward, his voice resonant, humbled. The moon has chosen. The bond is true. Ronan remains Alpha, and this woman is his mate, by law and by fate. The circle dispersed. The wolves bowed their heads, one by one, in respect. Isla stood trembling, overwhelmed. But when Ronan turned to her, his hand cupping her cheek, she found herself smiling through her tears. You're safe now, he murmured. Her voice quavered, but it was steady with truth. No, I'm home now. And then his lips were on hers, gentle at first, reverent, before deepening into the kind of kiss that sealed not just a bond, but a promise of forever. That night, beneath the full moon, the wolves howled in unison, their voices carrying across the mountains like a hymn. The runaway bride had escaped betrayal, and in the arms of her alpha, she had found not chains, but devotion, not possession, but love, forever bound by silver flame. Isla and Ronan's bond is sealed by the moon. Adrian and her family are cast out. She accepts the alpha's love, finally free from betrayal and embraced by true devotion. Thank you for listening to the runaway bride who escaped betrayal until the alpha claimed her heart. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and return for more heart-pounding werewolf romance tales, where passion meets fate under the moonlight. Until next time, may your heart always find its true mate.